Good evening. Today we are in the week 11 discussion of this course, Farm Machinery. This course was taken by Professor V.K. Tiwari, Director IIT Kharagpur, and Professor Agricultural and Food Engineering Department, IIT Kharagpur. And myself, I am Paul. I am a PMRF Research Scholar from IIT Kharagpur, taking this course as a TA. My duties of TA is I will first discuss the summary of all the lectures that has been covered in this week, and second half what I will do, I will take up some question that are very similar to assignment, so that when you are doing the assignment you will not feel alienated. So let's move to the discussion. So I have told you in the very first class of the farm machinery that we have four basic farm machinery operation. Okay, what are the four farm machinery operation? First one is tillage or the seed bed preparation. Okay, second is sowing or planting. Third is intercultural operation or plant protection, and fourth is the harvesting and threshing operation. So last class we have touched the harvesting operation. This class we will see the threshing operation. Okay, so what is threshing? The operation of detaching the grain from the spikes, panicles or ear heads, cobs or pods is known as threshing. So what happens is, you have seen a plant of rice or plant of paddy. What happens is the okay, just 1 minute. Okay, so you must all have seen the stalks of rice or paddy. So in stalks of rice and paddy, you can see the grains are like this in position. Okay, so when we are talking about harvesting, we are only cutting the stalks from the plant. Okay, that is what we are doing in harvesting. But our paddy seeds are not separated from this. From this you can from this husk or husk or this small stalk. Okay, our paddy seeds are not separated yet. So to separate this paddy seeds from this plant, from this already harvested part of the plant, we do this operation known as threshing. So what is threshing? Again I am repeating, this is the operation of detaching the grain from the spikes. Okay, this is known as spikes. Okay, so we are detaching, this is the grain. Okay, this is the grain, this is denoted by G, and this is the spikes. Okay, so we are detaching this grain, from this spike, that is known as threshing. So threshing can be achieved by rubbing action, impact action or stripping action. Okay, so what are the different methods of threshing? Okay, what are the different method of threshing? As I have already told you in the first class, from the first class itself, that whenever we are talking about farm machinery operation, then there are basic three types of power. Okay, one is human power, second is animal power, and third is mechanical power or electric power, sometimes electric power. So in threshing also, the threshing methods are of three types. One we can do by human power, that is by hand beating. Okay, this is totally manual process. So as it is manual process, it is very very tiresome for the for the farmers or the workers on the field. Okay, this is the first type of threshing method. The second type of threshing method, we do it by animal power. Animal, basically, by animal I am talking about bullocks here, because this threshing operation is a heavy operation, so we have to use bullocks in operation. So this bullocks, what they will do is they will pull the thresher on the they will pull the thresher, and this thresher will do the threshing operation. And third is mechanical threshing. Mechanical threshing, we are doing the threshing by the use of mechanical thresher. These two are mechanical threshers. Okay, so this is about threshing method. In mechanical threshing also, there is manually operated threshing. That means we are using a mechanical thresher, but your operation will be aided by a human. Okay, this is manually operated thresher. Means your the feed should be provided by the feed should be provided by manually only. Or you can say the power that should be uh, provided by human only. But in power operated thresher, the human need not to provide any type of power. In manually operated threshing, the human provide power with the help of legs. Okay, with the help of legs, they will operate they will operate this thresher, and by this the threshing operation will commence. But in power operated thresher, no need to have any manual power. Only you have to just put the feed in the thresher, and your thresher will do all the operation. This is mechanical threshing. Now, what are the principles of threshing? Thresher separates the grain from the stalks, consists mainly of a revolving cylinder and the concave. So, how this threshing operation will commence? The threshing operation commences by two important parts, or you can say for a thresher we need two important parts. One is rotating or revolving cylinder. Okay, this is the rotating or revolving cylinder. Okay, and second, we required a concave. This is the concave. So in between this cylinder and concave, okay, someone is joining. Okay. Yeah, so in between this cylinder and concave, whenever your whenever your feed will come, so your thresher will do the threshing operation. So this is the principle of threshing. Again, I am repeating. A thresher has two important component. One is a revolving drum, and second is concave. Okay, these are the two important things for a thresher. What happens is how the thresher will do its operation. Whenever the feed is whenever the plant stalks or the feed is fed to this thresher, your feed will go in between this cylinder drum and concave. Okay, and whenever the cylinder drum will rotate, so due to this rubbing action or impact action, this stalks will get threshed. So this is the principle of threshing. Okay, and these are some of the part. Yeah, I have already told you. First, this is the drum part. Second is the metallic bar. Third is the metal casing. This is the metal casing, and fourth is the feeding shaft. This metal casing is only the concave. Okay, this is the concave. So two important part you should remember. One is drum, and second is the metal sheet casing, or popularly known as concave. These are the two important part of the thresher. Okay, so this is all about thresher. Now, what are the types of threshing cylinder? We have drummy or hammer mill type threshing cylinder. So in this, just like hammer, you must have seen hammer. Okay, the hammer is this type of shape. Okay, so like hammer, here also the bars are made up of the bars are made just like hammer. Okay, So whenever the cylindrical drum will rotate, so at the periphery of the cylindrical drum there are hammer. So this hammer will beat your crops, and by this there will be separation method from the concave. Okay, these are the concave. So whenever the feed will come in between this hammer and concave, so there is okay, not here. Whenever the feed will come in between the hammer and concave like this, so here the threshing operation will commence. Okay, this is the first type of threshing cylinder. The second type of threshing cylinder is the axial flow type threshing cylinder. So axial flow type, it consists of spike tooth cylinder. Upper casing is provided with helical lowers and a separate thrower unit for discharging long straws, suitable for rice, sunflower, pulses, etc., and yields very long straw. These are some of the classifications. So here, just like your drummy mill, here the drummy mill or hammer type threshing cylinder, here the hammer is replaced by spike tooths. Okay, here there will be a cylinder, and on the top of the cylinder there will be spike tooths. So this spike tooth will serve the same operation. Whenever the feed will come in between the concave, this dotted line are for concave. Okay, whenever the feed will come in between the spike tooth and the concave, the tearing action will take place. So by this tearing action your threshing will be done, and this is important. This is suitable for rice, sunflower, pulses, and etc., and yields very long straw. The straw that we get from this thresher is very long. Then the ras bar type thresher. So ras bar type, again we are replacing spike with bars. Okay, these bars are called as ras bars. So bars having helical postrum or protrusion are mounted on the periphery of the cylinder. It is fitted with an upper casing and an open type concave at the bottom of the cylinder. Same thing, no need to explain. The cleaning system is provided with a blower fan and a straw walker, suitable for multi-crop threshing and yields very fine straw. So that is all about ras bar threshing. Only the difference between all this threshing is threshing cylinder and threshing cylinder. Here in hammer type we are using hammer type beater. Here we are using spike type of tooth, and here we are using bars. Okay, ras bars. So this is a multi-crop thresher that you must remember. Like axial flow thresher, we are used for generally sunflower, pulses, or rice. In ras bar, we are using multi-crop thresher. So it is a multi-crop thresher, means for many crops we can use this ras bar type of thresher. Now spike tooth type of thresher. So spike tooth, again this periphery will be mounted with rectangular or round spikes and suitable for multi-crop threshing. It's very fine straw. So this is again suitable for multi-crop thresher. But the difference between spike tooth and axial flow type of threshing cylinder is, here it is very fine straw. The straw will be very fine, but axial flow it will yield very long straw. So this is the difference between axial flow and spike tooth type of thresher. Also this is a multi-crop type of thresher, but this is suitable for generally rice, sunflower, pulses, etc. So this is the difference between spike tooth and axial flow type of thresher. Then wire loop type of thresher. Wire loops are fitted on the periphery of the closed type cylinder, and woven wire mesh type concave is provided at the bottom, suitable for rice threshing. Yes, wire loop, one of the most important feature of wire loop threshing, wire loop type of thresher is, it is suitable only for rice threshing, no other crop, only for rice threshing, and it yields very long straw. The straw it will yield is very long, but it is suitable only for rice, no multi-crop or no pulses, only for rice. So this is the feature of wire loop type of thresher. Okay, now design of concave. Concave, I have already told you, there are two important parts for a thresher. One is your cylindrical drum and second one is the concave. So design of concave, when we are seeing here, there is a formula for calculating the number of stroke of the ras bar. Okay, and that formula is I equals to alpha by 2 pi nz. What is alpha? Alpha is the angle of wrapping of drum by the concave. Wrapping angle means how much the crop is wrapping on the cylinder. Okay, like you will feed in between the concave and the rotating cylinder like this. So how much it is wrapping, like if it is wrapping like this, so the angle it is subtending, this is known as alpha. Okay, how much the crop is wrapping the cylinder, so that is angle of wrapping. Then n is the number of revolution of the drum, and z is the number of rasbar on the drum circumference. So by this we can calculate number of strokes of rasbar. Okay, this is the first design parameter. Second design parameter is peripheral width of the concave. Okay, peripheral width of the concave. What will be the peripheral width of the concave? So according to standards, the peripheral width of the concave should range from 1 by 3rd to 5 by 12th of the peripheral width of the cylinder drum. That is 1 by 3 pi d to 5 by 12 of pi d. Pi d is the circumference of this rotating drum. Okay, circumference of this rotating drum is pi d, and concave should range from width of the concave, peripheral width of the concave should range from 1 by 3rd to 5 by 12th. Okay, so this is the second design parameter. Third design parameter is the clearance between the cylinder and the concave. Okay, what is this clearance? Okay, between the cylindrical drum and the concave. So at inlet, wherever you are feeding, at inlet it should be between 13 to 19 millimeter, and outlet it should be less, because inlet you have to feed your crop. So in inlet the clearance should be large, but outlet the clearance should be small. If in the outlet also clearance is large, then there will not be sufficient threshing. That is why the shape is such that in inlet there is at inlet there is more spacing than the spacing or the clearance at the outlet. So at inlet the clearance is 13 to 19 millimeter. At outlet the clearance is 6 to 9 millimeter. Okay, these are some of the design parameters for this thresher and concave. Okay, now threshing capacity of a thresher for a given crop. So for rasbar thresher, the threshing capacity QR is given is equal to Q naught into LR into M. What is Q naught? Q naught is the allowable feeding rate into your thresher, and that should be between 0.35 to 0.4 kg per second per meter. Okay, again I am repeating, the allowable feeding rate should be 0.35 to 0.4 kg per second per meter. Okay, that is your allowable feeding rate. What should be the length of the drum into Q naught into the length of the drum into M. M is the number of bars. So by that you can find out the threshing capacity of a thresher. Okay, for rasbar type thresher. Okay, again I am repeating, formula is QR equals Q naught into L R into M. Okay, what is Q naught? Q naught is allowable feeding rate in kg per second per meter. Whenever we are multiplying this meter with the length of the drum, so this meter will get cancelled out. So will be only left with kg per second, because M is the number of bars which do not have any unit. So you will get the threshing capacity of the given for a given crop for rasbar type thresher, QR equals Q naught into LR into M. QR in kg per second. Okay. Now for spike tooth. Okay, for spike tooth the formula is Q naught dash into Z. Okay, what is this Q naught dash? Q naught Z dash is permissible feeding rate, again kg per second per meter. Okay, and again for spike tooth the feeding rate, allowable feeding rate or permissible feeding rate is less than this rasbar type of thresher. It is from 0.25 to 0.4, whereas for rasbar it is 0.35 to 0.4. Z is the number of tooth. Okay, so this is the threshing capacity for spike tooth thresher. Now arrangement of spikes on the drum. Okay, arrangement of spikes on the drum. It is the total number of tooth is given by this formula. Z equals MP LP by A plus 1. Okay, what is Z? Z is the total number of tooth. A is the distance between two adjacent paths. LP is the total length of the drum, and MP is number of teeth present in the same plane of rotation. So by that we can get total number of teeth. Again I am repeating, the formula is MP into LP by A plus 1. MP is your number of teeth present in the same plane of rotation. LP is the length of the drum. A is the distance between two adjacent paths, and we are adding plus 1. Okay, so by that we are getting the arrangement of spikes on the drum, that is total number of tooth on the drum. Okay, now power requirement of threshing unit, this is most important. So power supplied to the drum by engine NS is utilized to overcome idle resistance Nj and the total useful resistance due to process of threshing Nu. Okay, so Ns will be equal to Nj plus Nu. What is Nj? Nj is the idle resistance. Okay, some power we have to give for overcoming idle things like friction and all that. So that is Nj, and useful one is denoted by Nu. So Ns will be equal to Nj plus Nu. The formula for Nj is A omega plus B omega Q plus A omega Q plus B omega Q. That is formula for Nj. For Nu, the formula is m dash V square divided by 1 minus F. Okay. So what is this A? A is movement from the friction force in bearing. As I have already told you, Nj is your idle resistance. So idle resistance will be in the form of friction, and second is some factor of the drum. Okay, so that factor will be covered by B. So friction factor will be covered by A, and the factor of the drum will be covered by B, and omega is the peripheral speed of the drum. So by that we can get the Nj, and Nu is your useful resistance, and Nu will be equal to m dash. M dash is the mass delivered per second, and V is the speed of material obtained in time delta t, and F is the coefficient of materials rubbing in working slave. So this is the useful part, U, and this is the idle part, that is J. And if we do the total, we will get the power requirement of the threshing unit, that is Ns. Okay, so this is about design of the thresher. Okay, so now we will be seeing the parameters affecting the performance of the thresher. Okay, so there are three things that are affecting the performance of the thresher. One is crop parameter, second is crop parameter, second is machine parameter, and third is operating parameter. Again I am repeating, three parameter that will affect the performance of the thresher. One is your crop parameter, second is your machine parameter, and third is your operating parameter. These are the three parameter that will affect. Now we have to see how these are affecting. Okay, so by crop parameter can be crop parameter. There are basically 4 type of crop parameter that affects your threshing performance. So first crop parameter is type and variety of the crop. Second crop parameter is moisture content. Third is addition of green matter, and fourth is straw grain ratio. So one by one we will see how these are affecting. So if we see about the type and variety of crop, so type and variety, by type and variety, okay, so by type and variety, we are seeing dependence of the amount of grains released in threshing on a particular variety of grain, may be characterized by work expenditure required by husking and grain. So basically, when we are talking about type and variety of crops, we are talking about amount of grains. Okay, amount of grains that we are talking about. So there can be some crops which maybe have more grain on it. There can be some crop which has less grain on it. So this is the crop. This is the first crop parameter, that is type and variety of the crop. So this is by type and variety of the crop. Now moisture content of the crop, and moisture content of the crop, researchers have found out that whenever we are increasing the moisture content, of the crop, the cylinder loss increases. Okay, you can see in the curve, whenever we are going from left to right, that means whenever we are increasing the moisture content, there will be increase in cylinder loss, and this relationship is almost linear. Okay, second is grain damage. Whenever we are we are increasing the moisture content, the grain damage, this is D. Okay, the grain damage first decreases, then it reaches a minimal value, and then it increases. So this is about grain damage. And last, the percentage of grain separated through concave grade. Okay, so whenever we are increasing the moisture content, so the separation of grain basically decreases. Okay, you can see decreases. This relationship is also almost linear. Okay, so again I am repeating, there are three things that we are talking about. First is cylinder loss. Cylinder loss will increase whenever the moisture content increases. Okay, now grain damage will first decrease, it will reach a minimal, and then it will increase. Then S is the percentage of grain separated through the concave grade, that will decrease as we increase the moisture content. So why these things are happening? Because whenever we are increasing the moisture content of the grain, what happens is this grains they get stuck on the cylinder walls. So that is why the separation, the percentage of grain separation will get reduced whenever we are increasing the moisture content. So that is about moisture content. Third is about addition of green matter. So addition of green matter means, as whenever we are adding the green matter, the moisture content will increase, and as the moisture content will increase, the threshing efficiency or S will decrease, and cylinder loss will increase. So this is totally related to moisture content, because whenever green things will increase, the moisture content will increase, and whenever moisture content will increase, you can see over this graph. Okay, and last is straw to grain ratio. Okay, straw to grain ratio. So straw to grain ratio, with the increase of straw to grain ratio, threshing efficiency is this decrease. So straw to grain ratio, straw to grain. So basically what happens is, straw is the green part. Okay, grain is the generally grain is the less green part. Okay, grain is the brown type of part. So grain has less moisture content, straw has more moisture content. So whenever we are increasing the straw to grain ratio, that means we are increasing the green matter, or we can say we are increasing the moisture content. So whenever we are increasing the moisture content, what happens is our separation efficiency will get decrease. Okay, and cylinder loss will get increase, and grain damage is decrease. Yeah, grain damage will decrease to a certain ratio, a certain point, and then it will increase due to the combination of L and S, that is combination of cylinder loss and cylinder loss and separation efficiency. Okay, so this is about crop parameter that are affecting the performance of the thresher. Now we have to move to machine parameter. So by machine parameter, we will see about cylinder diameter, then cylinder speed, then we will see concave length, and last we will see cylinder concave clearance. Okay, these are the machine parameters that we are talking about. So machine parameter, if I take the first machine parameter, that is cylinder diameter. So according to the figure, whenever we are increasing the cylinder diameter, our loss is increasing. Okay, loss is increasing, separation efficiency is decreasing, the damage is also decreasing. Okay, this is about cylinder diameter. Then cylinder speed, whenever we are increasing the cylinder speed, what happens is our loss will decrease. Okay, our loss will decrease, our separation efficiency will increase, and our damage will also increase. Okay, this is about cylinder speed. Now concave length, whenever we are increasing the concave length, our loss will get increase, our loss will definitely will get increase, because concave length we have to reduce as much as possible. So whenever we are increasing it, our concave length, okay, not concave clearance, we are talking about concave length of the concave. So whenever we are increasing the length of the concave, our loss will decrease, our separation efficiency will increase, our damage will also increase. Now cylindrical concave clearance, okay, cylindrical concave clearance, this is important. So whenever we are increasing the cylindrical concave clearance, our loss will increase, our separation efficiency will get decreased, and our damage will also get decreased, okay. And last we have operating parameter. Operating parameter, we are concerned with only one operating parameter, that is the feed rate. That means how much feed we are giving to the thresher. So feed rate, whenever we are increasing the feed rate, our loss will increase, our separation efficiency will get decrease, and our damage will also get decreased, okay. So this is all about the parameters that are affecting the performance of the thresher. So again, in summary, I am repeating. There are three parameters that are affecting the performance of the thresher. One is crop parameter, second is machine parameter, third is operating parameter. Crop parameter, basically we are talking about type and variety of the crop, and second is moisture content of the crop. The stalk grain ratio and green matter will depend on the moisture content. So these are the two important parameters, okay. Machine parameter, whenever we are talking about machine parameter, then we are talking about concave length, cylinder concave clearance, cylinder speed, and cylinder diameter, okay. So you can see the trends in the curve. Then we have the third parameter, that is operating parameter. Operating parameter, we are already talking about feed rate, and feed rate, the curve, by the curve you could know that how the damage, loss, or separation efficiency is affected, okay. So let me move to the next slide. So performance parameter of the thresher, okay. So performance parameter, total grain input, A equals B plus C plus D, okay. What is this B plus C plus D? B, A is the total grain input per unit time, okay, that is A. B is the quantity of threshed clean grain collected from the grain outlet per unit time, that is B, okay. C is the quantity of broken grain from all outlets per unit time. C is the quantity of broken grain. And D is the quantity of unthreshed grain from all the outlets per unit time. So again I am repeating, A is the total grain input per unit time, total grain that we are inputting the thresher. B is the quantity of grain collected from the grain outlet, that is B, okay. And C is the quantity of broken grain, okay. C is the quantity of broken grain from the outlet per unit time. And D is the quantity of unthreshed grain, the grain which are not threshed, from the outlet per unit time, that is A equals B plus C plus D, okay. So total grain input will be equal to quantity of clean grain or threshed grain from the grain outlet, plus C quantity of broken grain from all the outlet, and D quantity of unthreshed grain. B is the threshed or clean threshed grain, C is the damaged grain, and D is the unthreshed grain. So A equals to B plus C plus D. Now what should be the percentage of broken grain? Percentage of broken grain will be equal to C. C is the quantity of broken grain, A is the total quantity of grain, so C by A into 100. Now percentage of unthreshed grain. Percentage of unthreshed grain is D by A, because D is the unthreshed grain. So D by A into 100. Now what is this G by A and J by A? G is quantity of clean grain obtained from straw outlet per unit time. Not grain outlet but straw outlet. Okay, that is G. So that is percentage of blown grain. So percentage of blown grain will be equal to G by A into 100. And percentage of spilled grain, J. J is the quantity of clean grain obtained at the sieve overflow and underflow per unit time. Spilled grain, okay, the grain which are spilled. Okay, so that formula, percentage of spilled grain formula is J by A into 100. Okay, now what are the different efficiencies? threshing efficiency. Threshing efficiency is 100% minus 100% minus percentage of unthreshed grain. That is the threshing efficiency. Percentage of unthreshed grain is D by A into 100. So whenever this percentage we will put here, so we will get the threshing efficiency, 100 minus percentage of unthreshed grain. That is the threshing efficiency. Second, we have cleaning efficiency. Okay, cleaning efficiency is given by M by F into 100. What is M? M is the quantity of clean grain obtained from the sample at the main grain outlet. F is the total quantity of sample taken at the main grain outlet. So in the main grain outlet only, we are quantifying the cleaning grain efficiency. Main grain outlet, total quantity of sample taken at the main grain outlet is F, and quantity of clean grain out of the F, how much quantity is clean, that is denoted by M at the main grain outlet. So whenever we are talking about cleaning efficiency, we are talking about grain at the main grain outlet only. Okay, only at the main grain outlet. So M by F. F is the total quantity of sample taken at the main grain outlet, and M, out of this sample how much quantity is clean grain. So that is M. So M by F into 100 is your cleaning efficiency. So this is about performance parameter and efficiency of the thresher. Okay. Now agricultural production and sustainability concern. So we have finished the threshing part. Now we will see agricultural production and sustainability concern. So what happens is in our traditional farm machinery operation, there are some of the sustainability concern. Okay, what are the sustainability concern? One is soil health, second is water resources, third is agroecological environment, and third is regarding farm size. So these are the four sustainability concern that we have in our traditional farm machinery operation. Okay, again I am repeating. First is soil health. Okay, health of the soil. Second is water resource. Third is agroecological environment, and fourth is farm size. These are the four agricultural production and sustainability concern. Okay, now what are the, okay, let me keep over here. Yeah, what are the conventional practices? What are the challenges that we are facing by conventional or traditional practices? So first is excessive soil tillage. So by excessive soil tillage, we are facing runoff losses, because what happens is, soil tillage means the loosening of the soil. Okay, loosening of the soil or mechanical manipulation of the soil. So whenever we are doing the mechanical manipulation of the soil, what happens is are more runoff losses, because the water will not stay at one place. It will run off easily, because the soil is soft, or the soil is still. So that is one of the problem of excessive soil tillage. Second is soil erosion. Okay, soil erosion, again due to water, as there is more runoff due to this flowing water, it will also take soil with it. So that is why there is a problem of soil erosion. And third thing is nutrient leaching. Okay, this is again another problem, nutrient leaching. What happens is, nutrient leaching is percolation of nutrient deep into the soil. That is nutrient leaching. So these are the three problems that we are facing by excessive soil tillage. The second conventional practice at which we are facing the problem is straw burning. By straw burning, there are loss of microorganism, and second is is more environment pollution due to this straw burning. So these are the two conventional operation that is causing problems to us. These are the two conventional farm machinery operation that are causing problem to us. Okay, excessive soil tillage leads to runoff losses, soil erosion and nutrient leaching. Straw burning leads to loss of microorganism from the soil, and second is it leads to environment pollution, because you are burning the straw, so it will lead to environment pollution. So what is the solution? Okay, solution is conservation agriculture. Okay, conservation agriculture. So by conservation agriculture only you can make out by the name itself that whenever we are talking about conservation agriculture, we are doing it as a view to conserve our natural resources. Okay. So conservation agriculture is a system of integrated management of soil, water and biological resources combined with external input with a view to conserve our natural resources. What are the natural resources? The natural resources are soil, water resources, environment and farm size. That means land, soil, water and our environment. So we have to do conservation agriculture with a view to conserve all our natural resources. Okay, so conservation agriculture, this is a flow chart for conservation agriculture. So whenever we are talking about conservation agriculture, that means minimum or no soil disturbance. Second is continuous cover residue or cover crop, and third is plant diversity or crop rotation. So by these three things we are mainly doing the conservation agriculture. Okay. First is plant diversity or plant rotation. So whenever we are doing the plant rotation, you know that legumes crop or there are some crop that will help to restore the nutrients in the soil. So by that we can benefit. Second is minimum or no soil disturbance. That means we are doing it to prevent this excessive soil tillage. Third is continuous cover residue on the cover crop. Whenever we will keep continuous cover residue or cover crop on the soil, so it will prevent the soil from soil erosion, or it will also prevent this runoff losses. So this is are the some of the key feature of this conservation agriculture. Now benefits of conservation agriculture. Benefits of conservation agriculture already told: erosion control. Second is incidence of weeds. So most studies tend to indicate that reduced incidence of weeds in various crops whenever we are doing this conservation agriculture. Third is conservation of moisture and nutrients of the soil. Fourth is increased crop yield. The crop yield, you can see the crop yield can increase from 4 to 6%. Okay, this is a huge increase. Like if you are getting 100 kg from a farm, you can get 104 to 106 kg. 5-6 kg increase is a big increase whenever we are talking to our farm machinery. So this is one of the biggest benefit of this conservation agriculture. Fourth is of course environment pollution, because whenever we are keeping continuous crop residue and not burning straw, not doing this straw burning, so we are protecting our environment. Then last is crop diversification opportunity. So whenever we are doing this crop rotation, so we are doing this crop diversification opportunity. That means by this crop diversification also we are maintaining the soil nutrition. Okay, like some of the pulses or legume crop, this restore the soil nutrition. So that is again a major advantage of your crop diversification. Okay, then we will come to mechanization strategy in conservation agriculture. So first is zero tillage. So we are dealing with excessive tillage. So one of the important machinery to deal with one of the important method to deal with excessive tillage is zero tillage. By zero tillage, it is a system where soil is not disturbed by tillage or cultivation between harvest of one crop and planting of the next crop. So that is zero tillage. Okay, means there is no soil disturbance there is no soil disturbance. So zero tillage can be achieved by this zero till seed cum fertilizer or happy seeder. Okay. Then second is minimum tillage. Minimum tillage is again a similar thing like zero tillage. In zero tillage we are doing no tillage at all. Minimum tillage we are doing tillage, but we are doing very less tillage. Okay, that is minimal tillage. So minimum tillage we are doing with our roto till drill. Now equipment for stubble burning management. Okay, we have two concerns. First is excessive tillage, and second is straw burning. So for straw burning we have this two equipment. So this first one is stubble shaver. So this stubble shaver will shave off your straw from the from after the harvesting operation. And second is a rotary slasher. This is the rotary slasher. This will also do the same operation, that is uh, that is uh, this will do the same operation, take care of the stubble or straw after the harvesting operation. Okay, so these are the two important things. So again I am repeating in this slide. In the last slide I have already told you that there are two important problems of conventional tillage. One is excessive soil tillage, second is straw burning. So for preventing the excessive tillage, we have two methods. One is zero tillage, or we can do minimum tillage. So zero till seed drill come fertilizer, and happy seeder are two of the equipment for zero tillage. And for minimum tillage we have roto till drill. Okay. To take care of this stubble burning, we can cut the stubble only. So stubble can be cut by stubble shaver, or stubble can be cut by rotary slasher. So these are the two equipment for taking care of the stubble burning cause stubble burning cause. Okay, so this is all about this in this slide. Now we will move on to materials used in farm machine. So we have completed all the operation of our farm machinery. Now we will see what are the material used in making our farm machines. Okay, that is important thing. So for tillage equipment, you can see this is a tillage equipment, and this is known as cultivator. We have already studied. So cultivator basically has two parts. One is the frame, and second is the working element. So frame is made up of mild steel, and this working element is made up of high carbon steel. This is about tillage equipment. Okay, so now about sowing equipment. Sowing equipment, in sowing equipment, this frame is made by mild steel. Like our tillage equipment, this frame, okay, this frame is made up of mild steel. Now the working element of the soil is made by high carbon steel, just like your cultivator. Now what are the other components? This hopper, okay, this hopper where seeds are collected, this is made by mild steel, galvanized sheet, or fiber glass. Okay, these are the three component by this hopper is made up of. Okay, now this tubes, okay, this seed tube is made up of rubber or plastic or PVC plastic. Okay, now this seed metering mechanism will be made of mild steel, aluminum, brass, or cast iron. And this other frame is made up of mild steel or cast iron. So this is about sewing equipment. Now the third thing is intercultural equipment. So intercultural equipment, when we are talking about simple hand equipment or manual equipment, so the handle portion is basically made of wood or plastic, and the working element or the tool, that is made up of this high carbon steel. Okay, carbon steel or alloy steel. Okay, here in cultivator or this sowing equipment, we are using high carbon steel, but in manual equipment we do not require that much high carbon steel. We can go with low carbon steel or alloy steel. Okay, now about intercultural operation that we are using, like this is push and pull type of weeder. So for push and pull type of weeder, the handle is made up of wood or mild steel. Your working element will be made up of mild steel here. Okay, your working element is made up of mild steel here, not high carbon steel, and your wheels are made up of mild steel or cast iron. Okay, now plant protection equipment, this is the boom of the sprayer, and this boom of the sprayer is made up of mild steel or galvanized iron. Okay, the nozzle is made up of aluminum, brass, or tungsten carbide. The tank, okay, the tank in which the liquid is stored, this is made up of fiberglass, reinforced plastic, brass, or galvanized iron. Okay, this is about plant protection equipment. Now harvesting and threshing equipment. So this is our harvesting equipment. So harvesting equipment, this knife is made up of high carbon steel. This plastic part is made up of not plastic part, the body of the body of the vertical conveyor reaper is made up of aluminum material, and knife guard, the guard which is above the knife is made up of iron casting, steel casting, or steel forging. And about threshing equipment, the drum is made up of medium carbon steel. The drum is made up of mild steel wire, spring steel wire. The body is made up of medium carbon. The body or the concave is made up of medium carbon steel, and the frame part is made up of mild steel. That is about thresher. Okay, so these are the materials that are used in making our farm machines. So again I am repeating, for tillage equipment, for frame we are using mild steel, for working element we are using the high carbon steel. Sewing equipment for working element is made up of that same high carbon steel. The frame is made up of mild steel, just like a cultivator. The seed tube is made up of rubber or plastic or PVC pipe, PVC plastics. The hopper is made up of mild steel, galvanized sheet, or fiber glasses. The metering mechanism is made up of mild steel, aluminium, brass, or cast iron, and the side frame is made up of mild steel or cast iron. Now about intercultural operation, the handles are made up either by wood, plastic, and if we are talking about push-pull type weeder, then it is made up of mild steel also. And the working element in a manual type of intercultural operation, it is made up of this carbon steel, low carbon steel, and in this push pull type of weeder, it is made up of mild steel, and in push pull type of weeder, this wheel is made of mild steel or cast iron. Plant protection equipment, nozzle is made up of aluminum, brass, or tungsten carbide. The boom of the sprayer is made up of mild steel or galvanized iron. And this tank is made up of fiber glass, reinforced plastic, brass, or galvanized iron. Now the last, that is harvesting or threshing operation. Knife is made up of that high carbon steel. The knife guard is made of iron casting steel or casting steel or steel forging, and the body of the VCR is made up of aluminium or acrylic material. Now regarding this thresher, the thresher is made up of the side wall of the thresher is made up of mild steel. Then the cylinder is made up of mild steel wire or spring steel wire, and the concave or the side frame of the thresher is made up of medium carbon steel. So this is the materials used in our farm machines. Okay, now let us move to the next part, that is method of heat treatment. Okay, so method of heat treatment, we have four methods for heat treatment. First is hardening. Okay, what is this hardening? Hardening is the metal is heated to a high temperature, that is 1094 degrees Celsius, and cooled suddenly by quenching in water or oil. So that is the hardening process. Second is annealing. Annealing is the metal is heated to a temperature 840 to 955 degrees Celsius and allowed to remain at maximum temperature for 1 to several hours. Okay, in hardening we are suddenly cooling it, but in annealing we are keeping it for several hours. Okay, and then allowed to cool. Hardening we are using water or oil to suddenly cool it, annealing we are keeping it for certain hours to cool it. Now third is tempering. Tempering is heating of hardened metal. That means tempering is after this hardening only. So tempering is heating of hardened material to about 500 degrees Celsius and cool by quenching in liquid. So after hardening we can do the tempering process. And last is case hardening. Case hardening, process of introducing additional carbon into the outer shell of the steel pieces. That is case hardening. Now what are the features of all this heat treatment? When we are talking about hardening, hardening generally increases the hardness of the material, it increases the tensile strength and brittleness of the metal, and second is it reduces metal ductility. Okay, these are the features of hardening. Whenever we are talking about annealing it refines the coarseness of the grain. Okay, the grain will be more coarse, not fine. Okay, it removes the strain and increases the tensile strength of the material. Then tempering it reduces brittleness and increases toughness and ductility of the metal. Tempering is after hardening. Okay, so the features of tempering are very similar to hardening only. The last is case hardening. Case hardening it increases the wear resistance because we are introducing additional carbon, so it increases the wear resistance. It gives a good corrosion resistance and resistance to scaling and surface layer of the metal. So that is about case hardening. So this is all about the theory part. Then we will move to the we will discuss the questions that are very similar to your assignment. So today the questions are regarding threshing operation and equipments. Second is design of threshing equipment. Third is performance and evaluation of threshing equipment. Fourth is conservation agriculture, and fifth is materials for farm machinery constructions. So these are the five topics from which we will discuss the question that will be similar to your assignment 11. Okay. So question number 1. So again during question answer session, the participants that are present in this discussion, I request you to guess the answers first. Okay, I will be asking the question, I request you to guess the answer, and then I will reply to the answers. Okay, or I will explain the answers in detail. So this is the first question. The process of introducing additional carbon into the outer shell of a steel piece is known as, option A is hardening, option B is tempering, option C is case hardening, and option D is annealing. Yeah, Gautam is telling C. Any other participants today? Okay, we don't have any other participants. So okay, yeah. So very right, Gautam. And option C is your correct answer. Yeah, option C is your correct answer. You are very right, Gautam. So case hardening, as we have just discussed, case hardening process of introducing additional carbon into the outer shell of the steel pieces, that is case hardening. Why we are doing this? We are doing the case hardening to increase the resistance to wear, to increase the resistance to corrosion. These are the two things for which mainly we are doing the case hardening. We are putting the additional carbon to increase the wear resistance and to increase the corrosion resistance. So for these two things we are doing the hardening process or case hardening. Okay, so correct answer is option C. Okay, now move to the next question. In the annealing process, the metal is heated to a temperature ranging between, option A is 550 to 780 degrees Celsius, option B is 840 to 955, option C 1094 to 1430, and option D 1550 to 1700 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so Gautam is telling B. Yeah, you are absolutely right, Gautam. For this annealing process, the metal is heated to a temperature 840 to 955 degrees Celsius. And what is the difference between hardening and annealing? Hardening, we are suddenly cooling it, but annealing, we are keeping it for several hours to cool it automatically. We are not using sudden cooling with the help of any liquid. So annealing, we are keeping it for several hours in order to cool it. Okay, why we are doing this annealing process? To increase the coarseness of the grain particle. So for that we are doing this annealing process. So option B, the temperature range is from 840 degrees Celsius to 955 degrees Celsius. So option B is your correct answer. Okay, Now question number third, the most appropriate conservation tillage practice for arid and semi-arid regions is known as option A is mulch tillage, option B is zero tillage, option C is minimum tillage, and option D is deep tillage. So any guesses? Okay, no problem. So no guesses. Okay, C or B. Yeah, you are guessing either C or B. So it is talking about most appropriate conservation tillage in arid and semi-arid region. So whenever we are talking about arid and semi-arid region, so what happens is there is more chances for yeah, there is more chances for your soil to flow due to air due to not air, due to flowing wind or due to runoff. Okay, so to prevent this, what we are doing, we are keeping some of the mulch on the surface of the soil, so that is mulch tillage. So mulch tillage or stubble mulch tillage involves cutting the roots of the weeds and other plant and leaving the crop residue on the surface or mixed into the top few centimeters of the soil. So what we are doing, we are cutting the weeds or the plants that we get along with our or the any other plants that we are getting along with our crop. So we are cutting it, but we are leaving the residue on the surface of the soil, or we are mixing it into the first few or the top few centimeters of the soil. So the chief objective of mulch tillage are to reduce erosion from wind and water. Okay, so we are doing this to prevent the soil erosion by wind or by water, and second is to conserve the water by reducing the runoff. So as the runoff will get reduced, so more water will percolate into the soil. So we are also conserving the water. So we are conserving two things, we are conserving soil and we are conserving water. So this practice is widely accepted in Great Plains and other arid and semi-arid regions. So basically we are using this in arid and semi-arid regions where there is more chances of wind and water erosion, and second, we need to conserve water by reducing the runoff. So option A or mulch tillage is your correct answer. Okay, so we will move to the next question, that is question number 4. The minimum period for a long run test for a thresher as per BIS standard is equal to option A is 20 hours, option B 25 hours, option C 30 hours, and option D 35 hours. So any guesses for this? Okay, so no guesses. So right answer is 20 hours. Okay, so long run test, we operate the thresher for at least 20 hours at load for each recommended crop. Load means feed rate. Okay, load for each recommended crop, which should be covered by continuous run of at least 5 hours. So long run test means long run test of either thresher or long run test of either sprayer. We have to do continuous operation of at least 20 hours. Continuous operation of at least 20 hours. So that is long run test. So long run, this is about long run test. So option A is your correct answer. Now we move on to the next question, that is question number 5. Which of the following thresher can produce fine quality bhusha? Option A is syndicated type, option B wire loop type, option C axial flow type, and option D none of this. So any guesses for this? Okay, so no problem. So syndicated type is your correct answer. So syndicated type, this is the diagram of a syndicated type thresher, and syndicated type means you can see it is like a flywheel. Okay, it is like a flywheel, or you can say it is like a fan. Okay, the cylinder consists of a flywheel with a corrugation on its periphery. You can see this is some teeth are on its periphery, so that is known as corrugation. and the sides which rotates inside the closed casing and the concave. Okay, there is a concave. This dotted lines are always denoted for concave, and this is your flywheel type of structure, and at the top of it there are corrugation. The rim of the flywheel fitted with chopping blades. There are chopping blades on the rim of the flywheel, and it is suitable for wheat threshing and yields very fine bhusa. Why it yields very fine bhusa? Because of this chopping knife that are present on the rim of the flywheel. So by this we can get very fine bhusa of wheat. Okay, so option A, syndicated type of thresher, is your correct answer. Okay, so up to this any doubt? Up to this any doubt in any question? Okay, no doubt. Yes. Now question number 6. In a combine harvester, the sum of cylinder, walker and shoe losses is designated as. This is a question of combine harvester, but here as it is given, so we have to answer. There are four options. Option A is the total loss, option B processing loss, option C direct loss, and option D non-processing loss. So this is already covered in the last lecture. Yeah, option B processing loss. Yeah, very right. You are very right. So processing loss is the correct answer. So by processing loss involves the loss of grains in terms of damaged, unthreshed, and the threshed obtained after completion of threshing, separating, and cleaning operation. Okay, so that is processing loss. So again, processing loss is the loss of grains in terms of damaged, unthreshed, and threshed obtained after completion of threshing, separating, and cleaning operation. So as all the operation are like process. So all the operation are process of a combine harvester. So that is why this type of losses we term as processing loss. So the losses that are happening during the processing of the combine harvester. So that is why this is a processing loss. This sum of cylinder loss. Cylinder loss is for threshing. Okay, cylinder loss. Yeah, cylinder loss is the threshing operation. Walker loss. Walker loss is the Walker loss is the separating operation. Separation of grain from the straw. So that is Walker loss. And shoe loss. Shoe loss is separation of grain from the chaff or lighter materials. That is cleaner loss. That is shoe loss. Okay. So these are the three losses. Sum of cylinder, walker and shoe losses. That losses is known as processing loss, because these are the process of your combine harvester. That is why this name is given as processing loss. So option B is your correct answer. Okay. Now let's move to the question number 7. Which of the following thresher is suitable for threshing of the wheat crop? Option A is hammer mill type, option B is syndicated type, option C is both A and B, and option D none of these. So any guesses for this? Yeah, Gautam is telling C. Yeah, that is both A and B. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Syndicated type we have already read in the fifth question about syndicated type. Drummy mill type we have already read in our theory. Both this type of threshing drum are suitable for threshing of wheat threshing and yields very fine straw. Both this hammer mill type and syndicated type, these are suitable only for wheat type of threshing, not for any other type of threshing. So option A, B both are correct. That is option C is your correct answer. That is both A and B. Option C is your correct answer. Both drummy hammer mill type and syndicated type threshing drums are applicable for threshing wheat. Okay, for threshing rice we have wire loop type of thresher, and for multi-crop we have spike tooth type of thresher, and spike tooth type of thresher, and axial flow type of thresher. These are for multi-crop thresher. Okay, So for wheat we have two basic type of threshing drum, that is hammer mill and syndicated type. For rice we have wire loop type thresher, and for multi-crop we have spike tooth and axial flow type of thresher. So option C is your correct answer. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So up to this, any doubt? Any doubt up to question number 7? No doubt. Yes. Now question number 8. A thresher drive. This is a numerical type of question. So a thresher drive shaft rotates at 1100 rpm. When an applied torque is given, that is 50 Newton meter. If the belt slippage is taken 10% and the total power required in the thresher is given by, these are the 4 options. So how we will approach the question? So we have three data that are given. That is, speed of the shaft is given 1100 rpm. Applied torque is given, that is 50 Newton meter, and slippage is given, that is 10%. Okay, what is power? Power is 2 pi nt by 60. How we got to this 2 pi nt by 60? What is power? Power is force into velocity. But force into velocity is for analog motion. But for rotational motion, this is replaced by torque into omega. Okay, force, the analog of force in rotational motion is torque. The analog of velocity in rotational motion is angular velocity or angular speed omega. So for rotation we should consider P equals to T into omega. T is given? Yeah, T is given. Omega is given? No, omega is not given, but we have given n, that is that is rpm is given. Now how we can get this omega from this n? Omega is 2 pi n by 60, that is omega, and we know this n. Okay, so we we know this n. Okay, we know this n, so we can find this omega or angular speed, that is 2 pi n by 60. N is given, so by this we can find omega, and once we find omega, we have to multiply with T, that is already given, that is 50 Newton meter. So by this we can get the power. So power is 2 pi 2 pi power is T into omega. Omega is 2 pi n by 60, that is 2 pi 1100 by 60, and T is 50 Newton meter, so into 50. So by that we can get power in watt, but if we need power in kilowatt, then we have to divide by 1000. So that is why 1000, it is divided by 1000. 2 pi n by 60 into 2 pi n by 60 into T divided by 1000 to get power in kilowatt. So power we get 5.76 kilowatt. So up to this our concept is clear. But in the question, the additional thing that is given is, if the belt slippage is 10%, then what is the total power? Now as the belt is slipping by 10%, so we need to have additional power to overcome it. So additional power, how much additional power we required? We required 10% of additional power. So we got our power as 5.76, but we required 10% of additional power. So 5.76 into 1.10. So by that we can get 6.336 kilowatt. So your answer will be 6.336, or option C is your right answer. So again I am repeating, in this question it has been asked to find the power of the thresher. And power, what is power? Power in analog we know power is force into velocity. But whenever we are talking about thresher, the motion is rotational motion. Okay, so for rotational motion the power is torque into omega, because torque is the rotational analog of force, and omega or angular speed is the rotational analog of rotational analog of velocity or speed. Okay, so power in rotational terms is given by torque into angular speed. Torque we have been given in the question, that is 50 Newton meter. But omega, we do not have omega. Omega we can find out by, if we know the RPM of the drum, and RPM is given that is 1100 rpm. So omega is 2 pi n by 60. So as we know the rpm, we can find the angular speed. Once we find the angular speed, we can put in this and multiply it with the torque, and we can find the power. Okay, that power we got 5.76 kilowatt. But the question is not yet over. In the question it has been given an additional information that the belt is slipping by 10%. So as the belt is slipping, we have to give 10% extra power, because the belt is slipping by 10%. So the power we got, we have to multiply it by 1.10, or we have to give it additional 10%. Additional 10% how we can give? By simply multiplying the result by 1.10. So whenever we will multiply by 1.10, we can get the total power required. So total power required, we are getting 6.336 kilowatt. So option C is your correct answer. Okay. So is this question clear? Okay, nice. Now let us move to the next question. Again we have a numerical type of question. So what has been asked in the question? A multi-crop thresher was tested for threshing Bengal gram. So the crop here is given Bengal gram. Bengal gram is a type of pulse. Okay. If the total crop input is 700 kg per hour, means feed rate is given here, it is 700 kg per hour, and the unthreshed grain obtained is 15 kg per hour. Then the threshing efficiency. So threshing efficiency eta f, I already told you, that is equal to 1000 minus your 1000 minus your 1000 minus 1000 minus C by A. Okay, A is your total feed rate, C is the then the threshing efficiency. Yeah, C. Okay, so let's move to the formula. Yeah, I was talking about this. Threshing efficiency is 100% minus percentage of unthreshed grain. Okay, so unthreshed grain is C by A into 100%. Okay, so what is this? A is the total quantity that is fed, and C is the quantity of unthreshed grain from all the outlet. So if we have C, if we have A, then we can find percentage of broken grain, and threshing efficiency is 100% minus we have to calculate D by A, not C by A, because percentage of unthreshed grain is D by A. D is the quantity of unthreshed grain and A is the quantity of total grain. So percentage of unthreshed grain is D by A. So 100% minus D by A, not C by A. 100% minus D by A. Okay. If D is given in the sorry, 1 minute. Yeah. So A is the total grain and D is the quantity of unthreshed grain. So by this we can get the percentage of unthreshed grain, and once we get the percentage of unthreshed grain, we can calculate the threshing efficiency, that is 100 minus percentage of unthreshed grain. So same thing we will do in this question. Yeah, same thing we will do in this question, that is 100% minus percentage of unthreshed grain. Yeah, so 100 minus 100% minus percentage of unthreshed grain, that is D by A, not C by A, D by A. So D, what is D by A? D is 15 kg. D is 15 by total is 700. 15 by 700. Okay, 15 by 700 into 100. Okay, so this 100 will cancel out. 15 by 7, 15 by 7, it will be 2 point something percent. Okay, 2.10 is 10 means okay, 7 by 15, right? 7 by 15. So 2 is 14, 7.1, 30 is 30 is 4, 2.14. So 100% minus 2.14, that is 97.86 percentage. So option B is your correct answer. So again I am repeating, what is the threshing efficiency? and th will be equal to 100% minus d by a. D is the quantity of unthreshed grain from the grain outlet. A is the total quantity of grain that is fed to your thresher. So 100 minus d by a. So d is given. D is given. Sorry, A is given. A is given as 700 kg per hour, and D is given. D is given as 15 kg per hour. So 100 minus 15 by 700 into 100 percentage. So 15 by 700 into 100, this will, you will get 2.14 percentage. So 100% minus 2.14%, that will be equal to 97.86%. So option B is your correct answer. Okay. So is this clear? Is this question clear? Okay, nice. Now we are moving to the last question. Okay. So again a numerical type of question. To thresh the wheat crop in a power thresher, wheat crop has been fed with the feed rate of 3600 kg per hour. So feed rate here is this given, and the speed of the material over the drum is 30 meter per second. If the coefficient of the materials rubbing in the working slit is 0.7, then the total resistance acting on the circumference of the drum is given by these are the four options given: 88 kg per kg meter per second square, 70 kg meter per second square, C is 120 kg per meter per second square, and D is 100 kg meter per second square. So I think here there is a printing mistake. There will not be second square in all this. Okay, this is 100 all this option will be in kg meter per second, not kg meter per second square. Okay, all this will kg meter per second, not per second square. So yeah, so feed rate here it is given, that is m dash is given, that is 3600 kg per hour, that we can convert in kg per second, because always we are doing our calculation in second only. So how we can convert this in kg per hour to kg per second? Kg per hour to kg per second. So hour is kg, hour is 60 minute into 60 second. Okay, hour is 60 minute into 60 second, that means kg, and this is second. Okay, 60 minute into 60 seconds. So kg per 3600 second, that is kg per hour equals to kg per 3600 second. So here 3600 kg per hour is given your feed rate. So 3600 into kg per 3600 second. So that means your feed rate is 1 kg per second. Now speed of the material is given, that is 30 meter per second. Coefficient of the material is given, that is 0.7. So we have to find out total resistance acting on the circumference of the drum. So there is a formula to calculate it, and that is total resistance is m dash v divided by 1 minus f. M dash we know 1 kg per second, v we know 30 meter per second, and f is also given in the question, that coefficient of materials rubbing in the working slit, that is 0.7. So if we will put the value 1 into 30 divided by 1 minus 0.7, we will get the answer in kg meter per second. Okay, kg meter per second. Yeah, kg meter per seconds. Okay. Kg meter per second and meter per second. Okay. Kg meter. Yeah, kg meter per. Yeah. So sorry. I have told this wrong. Actually, the second will be kg meter per second whole square. Okay, kg meter per second whole square, that should be the thing. Kg meter per second whole square. Okay, so again I am explaining about the unit. M dash is kg. Kg. M dash is kg per second. No? So, okay, sorry, again I have done the mistake. Yeah. So here in this question it has been given right. The unit is given right, that is kg meter per second square. The unit is right. Okay, because the m dash is kg per second and v is meter per second. So kg So this is 100 kg meter per second square. So this will be the answer. Okay, this is about unit. M dash is kg per second. M dash is kg per second, and V is meter per second. So your answer is kg meter per second square. That will be your unit. So yeah, here the unit is right. I first thought that feed rate is only in kg, but feed rate is in kg per second. So your unit is given right. That is kg meter per second square. This will be your answer. So this is a straightforward question. M dash is given, that is the material feed rate is given, but in kg per hour. You have to convert in kg per second. 3600 kg per hour equals to 1 kg per second. Okay, then the speed of the material over the drum is given, 30 meter per second. This is also given. Coefficient of material rubbing in the working slit is given, 0.7. So you have to just put all the values in this formula. 1 into 30 divided by 1 minus 0.7, that means 30 divided by 0.7. Okay, 30 divided by 0.7, 7 by 100. Okay, sorry, doing this mistake. 30 divided by 1 minus 0.7, 30 divided by 1 minus 0.7. So 30 divided by 0.3. Okay, 30 divided by 0.3, your answer will come 100 kg meter per second square. So option D is your correct answer. So any doubt in this question? Okay. So any doubt in today's class, at any point? Any doubt in any point in today's class? Okay, so I assume there is no doubt. Okay, nice. So by this I am terminating the session for today. We will meet in the next class. Okay, thank you.